driving is good, walking is better. If you can get a teenager out on a walk, face the same direction, it means their eyes are moving, different parts of the brain are going, you will get them chatting. If you want to learn about your teenager, take them for a walk.
Welcome to the Legacy Collective podcast. My name's Brendan and I'm from School Fun Run. Today I'm talking to Leanne. Leanne's an expert in empathy, and in this chat we talk about ways you might be able to engage better with your kids to form greater relationships. I hope you enjoy it very much. Well, thanks so much for joining us, Leanne, on the Legacy Collective podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
You're most welcome. So let's start with the obvious question. What is empathy to you?
Oh, that's a big question. And one of the things that I do is demystify empathy because we tend to throw so much into this word.
Yeah, a lot. So I totally get it. That's why I thought I'd ask, because it's and it's a buzzword, right? Like people use it like we use the word love, and it's just thrown around. But I really would love you to kind of, as you say, demystify.
Yeah. So if we start with what it's not. Okay. So when we throw things into this word, you'll hear things like sympathy, pity, compassion. It all gets thrown in. The way that I look at empathy, and I think of it as healthy empathy, because not all empathy is healthy empathy. I think of empathy as having three types, and these are the ones that sort of quickly come to mind. So you might hear somebody go, oh, empathy, yuck, it's just feeling the feelings. Mm-hmm. It's not that. You might think of somebody go, yeah, it's just putting yourself in somebody else's shoes. It kind of is. But a lot of people think of empathy, it's just feeling the feelings, or it's give, or it's just for the girls, or it's a weakness, or you're either born with it or you're not, and it doesn't belong at work. Mm-hmm. When you break it down into what is healthy empathy, emotional empathy is that ability to, I guess, share the feelings of someone else. So it's kind of called emotional contagion as well. You kind of catch the emotions of somebody else. In doing that, you have to be very careful that we don't venture into unhealthy emotional empathy, which is jumping down emotional rabbit holes, taking on other people's stuff, having poor emotional language, poor emotional boundaries, burning out because I don't have anything left because I have to give and give and give and give, because I think empathy is just feeling the feelings, and I think more is better. So if I want to be better at empathy, you must be telling me just to feel more.
Yeah.
And that's often the one that makes people go, ooh, yuck, gross, ick. Up the other end, and I sort of have this scale, up the other end we've got cognitive empathy. So you might have heard of put yourself in someone else's shoes. Mm-hmm. The trouble with that is what a lot of people do is they then make assumptions and they say, yes, I know what it's like to be you. The trouble with that is if we're putting ourselves in someone else's shoes, I haven't taken my own shoes off first. So all I'm doing is interpreting your experience through my lens, my values, my assumptions, my privilege, my unconscious biases, and just handing it back to you with a spoonful of judgment.
Yep.
What we want to get to is this third type, which is healthy, compassionate empathy, which is the responding part. And healthy, compassionate empathy is the ability to, or the really good attempt to, share and understand the feelings and perspectives of someone else and respond in a way that makes them feel heard, valued, visible, and safe. So, healthy emotional empathy is good emotional literacy, self-reflection, growth, boundaries, self-care, self-empathy, having a good language and understanding of emotions and emotional regulation. Healthy cognitive empathy is understanding that you could be wrong. You could change your perspective, that you don't know what someone else is going through, that you understand how the brain works and how we make assumptions and how that can block our empathy. And so that's healthy cognitive empathy. And then responding in a way that makes somebody feel heard, valued, visible, and safe. Tell me more about that. It makes perfect sense you feel that way. Mm-hmm. So what we want to get away from is trying to fix problems, because that's unhealthy cognitive, is unsolicited advice and knowing what you should just do and having all the answers. But sitting and listening and being present as opposed to being
perfect. Okay, can we talk about that like in a more practical sense? Because I think I know where you're going with it,
yes.
and there's great advice in there. But for me, you're saying sit with someone and hear them, not necessarily with the intention of solving their problem.
Yes.
Be open to the fact that I might need to change my point of view because I see the world through my perception, and that may not be at all the way that this other person's life experience has taught them to see the world.
Yeah, 100%.
So is that as practical as it gets, or is there a more practical example that you can share with me? Maybe even like something that you've experienced with your kids or with somebody else, just to put a nutshell around it.
So even being aware of how our brain works and the assumptions that our brain makes. And so there's all these different unconscious biases. And in the store, I've got a shirt that says, "Don't believe everything you think."
Yeah, okay.
Even coming at it from that perspective, what are my assumptions?
Yeah.
But also asking questions like, what might be going on for this person that I don't see?
Mm-hmm.
What judgments might I be making? What conclusions might I be jumping to? Taking that really deep breath, learning how to breathe, learning how to emotionally regulate. What that does then is it means that you're less likely to jump into a reaction, which is generally not correct, or it's generally not empathetic. If we go, no, the first thing I think is right. Taking a deep breath and going, okay, how can I respond here? So, I mean, even we make assumptions about teenagers all the time. We make assumptions about teenagers without actually knowing what's going on, without actually thinking about anything outside our own perspective. So, I mean, a lot of people make assumptions about why teenagers are so tired and why they sleep in the morning and they just can't be bothered and they're lazy and they're entitled and it's because they stay up too late gaming. Teenage brains actually wired differently. So if we make that assumption that, oh my God, my teenager is so lazy, why doesn't he get up in the morning and just go to school and come on? But the system's not set up for teenagers. Teenagers need more sleep. Their brains need more sleep. They are wired to a slightly different circadian rhythm to adults. So if I come in making this assumption that my teenager is just being difficult, I'm going to approach that very differently to, well, actually, schools that start at 8 or 9 o'clock, that's not optimal for teenagers. And we know that they thrive when they start at about 11 in the morning. And so coming at it and going, okay, well, how do we get some good sleep habits? How do we help them to operate in a system that's not designed for them? And just those little tweaks mean that you can reduce your own stress, you can help the relationship, you can lean into learning about this teenager who is struggling. I mean, we all know what it's like to try and have to operate when we're tired, to have to learn stuff, to have to be emotionally regulated, to have to be a nice person, to have it all together. And we're expecting that of 14, 15, 16-year-olds whose brains are going through massive transitions. So even just taking that step back and going, what assumptions am I making and could they be wrong?
And it's not just their brains, it's their life. Like there's so much chaos in their life because they don't have the life experience that an adult would have, but they have all of the social inputs and probably more because they're open to everything. Whereas I think as we get older, we're more selective about what we're going to engage with. I think kids are kind of just open to the world and not fully equipped to deal with the way that we deliver it at the moment because it's just so... I mean, when I was a kid, I consumed kid content because that's all that you could do. Now you can consume any content you want. It's all available.
But also we've come into this digital revolution as adults. We've come into this digital revolution. I mean, I'm 47. I didn't get a mobile phone till I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
And even then, it certainly wasn't an internet phone. Like I didn't have an internet phone.
I still remember paying for text messages.
Having to to get the letter C, you had to press.
Hold the button down. Yeah, it was a different world.
So they've come into this digital world at the age of 2 or 3. We came into it in our 20s and 30s. So our brain was much more formed before we had this bombardment of hormones and chemicals and neurotransmitters, all these things that the childhood brain is not equipped for.
So this is probably a good point to ask you a question about parenting a teenage child, right? Yeah, I know. So if our brain, just going back to something you said earlier about the way that we perceive things and jumping to reactions based on the way we perceive things is not an empathetic way to be.
Yes.
So when your teenage child is behaving in a certain way and they were born as a digital native into a world where the internet was, fully functioning as we know it today, but we weren't, we're projecting what we think a childhood looks like on what they're actually living.
Yes.
And that can lead to a reactive moment as opposed to maybe putting that aside and taking the time to learn what life feels like for them through their eyes. Yeah. Would that be a good example of a practical empathetic?
Yeah, I think so. And also what we're told as parents. We are told that screens are bad. We're told that they have to do this, but we're also told that if they go outside, they're going to, they're going to get skin cancer and be killed. Like, we're also at the behest of all of this information. For example, the other day, so my daughter, she's 12. She's much braver than I ever was. She's an amazing little creature. But again, I make assumptions. And I went into her room the other day. She's on her screens. I'm like, oh, Zara, get off your screen. Like, come on, you're on it all the time. Because I was making assumptions about what she was doing on the screen. And I'm being told, oh, they're going to be talking to strangers and blah, blah, blah. And then I took a deep breath because Zara's the first one to tell you, I get this wrong all the time. Like, you think
you as mum get it wrong.
Me as mum.
Yeah.
So you think you're empathetic, ask your teenagers, they'll tell you where your gaps are. But I said to Zara, okay, took a deep breath. Zara, what are you doing on the screen? Thinking she's on Roblox or I don't know.
Yeah.
And she goes, here, look. She's designing dresses and drawing faces and drawing eyes and she's designing this ball gown. She's like, well, you said you had something coming up. I've designed you a dress.
Yeah.
And I look at her wall and there's pictures that she's drawing that she's just recently put up. And I go, oh, you're just not using a pen and paper. You're using the iPad as that's the tool that you're using. It just happens to be a screen. But as a mum, my assumption is, oh, screens are bad. And because I sort of hadn't, it was just my reptilian brain going off with, oh my God, my fear is, oh, she's screen addicted and she doesn't go outside.
Yeah, if you'd walked in and she had pencils and paper drawing dresses, you would think that's great because she's being creative and
100%.
Designing dresses. But simply because she was doing it on her screen, you jump to a conclusion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so it's not about her necessarily. It's all of a sudden back to me, my emotional regulation, my fears that, oh my God, my child's screen addicted. I failed as a mother. Like in a split second, these are all the things that your reptilian brain, your emotional brain are coming up with, your anxiety comes up with.
Yeah.
You take a deep breath and you go, well, actually, if she's on the screens doing that, that's perfectly fine. As you were. You get interested in it. You go, cool. Like, what are you interested in? And hey, and we started looking up, can you be a fashion designer without knowing how to sew? And we were both looking at that and we're like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And it's getting out of that reaction, emotionally regulating, figure out, oh, this actually isn't about her and it's probably not about the screen. It's about me. It's about my fears and how I project those onto my children. And then being aware of it and having them call me out on it constantly.
The other bit I like about that story, which I'd like to unpack a little bit, is when she showed you that she was designing a dress on the phone, it actually led to another moment for you to
100%.
Explore with her what was possible in that designer world, right? So it actually created like a mother-daughter moment for you to share because you had gotten rid of your judgment and stepped into an empathetic state of mind.
Yep.
And that's really interesting because years ago I went to a conference and it was I wouldn't say, well, under a broad umbrella, it was a life coaching conference. So the presenter had the right, I guess, to single people out and point out things that they could improve. So what I'm about to say is going to sound harsh, but in the context of the moment, it was actually pretty cool to hear, right? So a lady walked in late and all the chairs were taken except for one. And the one chair was, it was next to a guy, and he was Middle Eastern. And I'm going back a long way now. And for those of us that were around during like the September 11 attacks and things like that, there was quite a bit of reactive judgment towards other people, right? So she walked in and you could see that she didn't want to sit in that chair. You could see that. Like she looked for every other opportunity and then ultimately sat in the chair. Mm-hmm. So the presenter stopped and called her out on that behaviour because she'd walked in with what we would say a non-empathetic way of being, because she'd placed a judgment there to say, I don't want to sit next to that guy because of all the stories I hear in the media, blah, 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 blah. And the guy stopped and just pointed out to her that because you've already predetermined these stories in your mind before you walked into the room, you have missed the opportunity to have an engaging conversation with that man and learn what's life like through his eyes.
Yeah.
Because he's the one on the end of that all the time, being prejudged, when he actually probably is a really nice guy with some great lessons to share.
Yeah.
So linking that back to the story that you shared with your daughter, when we're not empathetic, we're actually costing ourselves a lot of happiness in life, because if you'd walked in with an open mind, you could have had that conversation with your daughter about designing dresses in a digital space easily. Yeah. Like you wouldn't have had to jump a mental hurdle to get there. It would have just been available.
Yeah.
Like that lady walking into that conference and just be willing to sit next to any other human being. Yeah. She could have learnt about that man's culture and about his food and his way of life, and there could have been some wonderful exchanges there to improve her life. Yeah. But when we're not being empathetic, it sounds to me like we're actually not doing ourselves a favour. I know we're not doing the other person a favour, but we're also not doing ourselves a favour.
Oh, 100%. The other thing, about that story as well, the assumptions that were made about her, that it was his ethnicity that meant that she wasn't sitting there. So there's potentially even questions to go, well, maybe it was
something else.
Yeah. Maybe it was, and then looking at how the brain works. But yeah, absolutely. And when we look at how the brain works and we look at unconscious bias, for example, if we're driving down the highway and somebody cuts us off, and as a general rule in Australia, you'll call them a name. And we'll go, "Roo!" And primarily what we've done, there's a unconscious bias called fundamental attribution error. You cut me off and I'm going to blame your personality. I'm not going to blame the situation. Okay. I'm not going to get curious about the situation.
Yep.
However, if I cut somebody off, it's not because I'm a baffled middle-aged woman. It's I'm really sorry, the kids are noisy in the back. I've never driven this road before. Person cuts you off and you're like, you're a, and we call them a name. Stereotyping, it might change depending on the car that they're driving. Yeah. Let's say they're driving a ute and it's got a P plate on the back. Mm-hmm. Oh, I call them a different name. Mm-hmm. What I don't say is, that person is probably a dude, probably early 20s. His brain's not fully formed yet. He probably completely misjudged sort of how far it is. As you were, sir. Mm. One situation, we're like, dude, road rage. Yeah. The other situation, we go, maybe he's had a bad day. Maybe his wife's about to have a baby. Whatever it is. The other situation, we're like, as you were, sir. Or we could think about, well, what's a really sad reason he cut me off? What's a really funny reason he cut me off? And as a general rule, we don't know. It's not our business. But the only thing that changes in that scenario is our cortisol level, our stress level, how we react, and then how we influence the other people in our car. Because we've all driven with somebody who just drives and goes, and like swears at people and carries on and calls everybody an idiot. Mm. I mean, I got honked at the other day because I took off slowly at the lights.
Yeah.
The reason I took off slowly at the lights was because I have an ex-racing greyhound who was in a cone and he wouldn't lie down. And so he's in a 1.5 foot of cone. I've got the world's dumbest lampshade. And I'm trying to drive slowly so he doesn't then break a leg.
Yeah.
But somebody honked me.
Yeah.
The only thing that changes is his stress level.
Yeah.
So when we think about self-care, when we think about self-empathy, when we think about emotional regulation, questioning our assumptions and not believing the first thing we think, not being reactive, is good for our health, because cortisol, high levels of stress, high levels of cortisol, constantly being on high alert, not clearing that cortisol from our body, has long-term negative health implications. Blood pressure, muscle development, brain cognitive function. All of this stuff is so intertwined. Same as if we're constantly jumping down other people's emotional rabbit holes and trying to go there with them and take it all on board and feel burnt out. That's not good for us. But being present with people and being calm and emotionally regulated and questioning how we think and getting curious about ourselves and others, that is good for our health.
And I think most people would agree with that. I don't think you'd get pushback on that. What I'm interested in then is, what can people do? Because you mentioned before about, like, it's Australian to, call someone a name when they cut you 100%. Off on the road. So a lot of this is like the human condition that we've been granted, being born in this time in this country. There's a lot of that nature effect that, and I guess nurture, because we learn from our parents. But for whatever it is, it can be difficult to be empathetic. Like it's not necessarily a human trait that comes easy to us, especially outside of the people that we love. So are there practical things that people can do to work on their empathy?
Yeah, 100%. It's really interesting because even knowing that empathy is a learned skill makes people more empathetic.
Like the general awareness of it?
There was a study in 2016. It was called No Country for Girly Men. And what they did was they looked at men specifically, and they told one group of men, empathy is a strength and it is a learned skill. It is something that you can get better at that has real benefit. And they told the other group, it is a weakness you're either born with or you're not, and it's not worth your time. And then they gave them some tests. And who do you think lent into questioning how they think? Who do you think lent into offering support to their friends?
Yeah.
Who do you think? So even understanding that fundamental truth that this is something you can get better at absolutely helps people to be open to it, to take that growth mindset.
Yeah.
Understanding that the first thing you think and understanding how the brain works helps us to then question. It helps us to self-regulate. It helps us to apologize and to be self-aware, to go, oh, yeah, I'm really sorry I made that assumption. How do I reflect on that? Understanding different practices of what it is that people need out of conversations. Understanding that a lot of the time, fear drives our behaviour. So if I'm afraid of my daughter being a screen addict, or if I'm afraid of, we see people at work all the time. We see leaders all the time acting out of fear.
Even before, you're just afraid of being a bad mum.
100%.
Like, it cuts every which way. And I think you're right.
100%.
We're very fear-led, and this is the opposite to that.
Very fear-led. And the more we can get out of our own head and not judge other people, which means we don't judge ourselves, but when we are fear-led, we make bad decisions. But the thing is, when other people are fear-led, they also make bad decisions. So it's trying to unpack and ask, okay, what am I afraid of that's driving this reaction So, like I said, leaders, they're afraid of losing status. They're afraid of losing money. They're afraid of losing relevance. They're afraid of losing face. They're afraid of whatever. That can then cause things like micromanaging, lacking trust, because I'm going to white knuckle and I'm going to put you down because I'm afraid. Yeah. Asking, okay, well, what might that person be afraid of or insecure about? Can help us to then get inside their head in a way without asking them directly, but just guessing and seeing if that gives us a more empathetic lens, but also taking the pressure off, because in Australia in particular, taking the pressure off being right, being the good guy. Because when you're right, someone else has to be wrong. When you're the good guy, someone else is the bad guy. Taking that pressure off being Mr. Fix-It or having the solutions, redefining what is useful. Because we think, oh, I've got to fix the things and I've got to do the things and I've got to have the things. Redefining that and going, oh, making somebody feel heard, valued, visible and safe is valuable, because what that then takes is self-reflection to go, oh, me as a person, I am valuable for more than being perfect, for more than my achievements, for more than the gold stars, the money, my big boat. And this is coming from a recovering perfectionist. Like, this isn't me just singing it from the rafters. I'm a Virgo, I'm a perfectionist, I'm an achieving, seek and advice given. That's my default settings. Yeah. But the trouble with that is it creates massive disconnection and it creates loneliness.
So what have you seen in your life? Like, because you've obviously, and we'll get into it later, but you've obviously made a conscious choice to pursue this as a passion and a purpose for you. What did life look like before you started studying and involving empathy in your life?
Yep.
And after?
Yeah, so I guess the epiphany came through trauma. So it wasn't, I think I'm going to be empathetic today.
Right.
It came through, like I said, I'm a achievement-seeking perfectionist, and then it was always do the right thing, say the right thing, give the best advice, like be top of the class, like all those sorts of things. I then had children, and everything I thought I knew about control, perfection, myself went out the window.
Yeah.
And I had 2 under 2. And I remember feeling like I had control over nothing. I couldn't control where I was going to be in the next 5 minutes. I couldn't control their emotions, my emotions, whether they were going to sleep, which way was up. I had no idea because I had 2 under 2. And what happened was I really struggled with rage because I was just angry all the time. And I managed to kind of mask it a little bit, but I remember when my daughter was 1, Rowan was almost 3, and I remember just raging. I remember just being so angry. And I remember I had to put myself in timeout. So we had a galley kitchen. And I tell this story on stage occasionally. Had a galley kitchen with a little baby gate so they didn't sort of come to the stove. And I'm like, I'm raging. I need to not be near you. And so I sort of took a few steps back, closed the baby gate, sat on the floor, and I took a photo. And the photo is of Zara crying. So she's little, she's only 1, and Rowan with his hand on her shoulder like, it's all right. And I've taken a photo of these children going, I can't be near you right now. And I remember telling a few people like, oh, this is really hard and I'm struggling and I'm angry all the time. And I remember putting a Facebook post up that said, I know that there are good drugs for postnatal depression, but what is there for postnatal rage or postnatal pissed off, I said. And all of the comments were all really dismissive. It was like, cherish these moments, the days are long, the years are short. It all got through it. We all got through it. You chose to have children, just have a drink. And it was really dismissive. And not that anybody knew that that's what they were doing. They all were very well intentioned. But because I then started internalizing it and going, oh, maybe it's me. Maybe this is... And it's not. Like, postnatal depression is a very neurological issue.
Those people, obviously, their intention was to help.
Their intention was to help, but they missed the mark a little bit because nobody was sort of validating that I was really struggling.
Yeah.
And so what happened was I used to have sort of daily thoughts of driving off into the sunset, and that's sort of the words I used in my TEDx talk was driving off into the sunset. The 2 years after that, the day before Zara turned 3, we were at the doctor for her checks, and my doctor said to me, how are you? And I'm like, I'm fine. Like, in a perfectionist, I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me. And she's like, no. How are you? And I said, well, I'm stressed from the moment I open my eyes to the moment I close my eyes. And even then I'm not sleeping. Like, yay for motherhood. Yeah. And she's like, this is, no. She said, this is bigger than you think it is. And she said, let's see what's going on for you. And I was kind of taken aback because that word let's, I'd never heard. I'd never heard somebody go, like, inviting me in. Yeah, it was always like, oh, you should do this. You should have a drink, whatever.
Yeah.
And it was that word let's that kind of caught my attention. And she and I worked together and, I went on some medication for a year and I figured all of that out and we tried to sort of readjust what was going on in my brain. And it was all fine in the end. But for me, that's my origin story. That's the thing that I kept coming back to. Whoa, that could have gone very differently. And I've heard stories, people have told me over the years, stories of women in their lives who have experienced this and not gotten that help. And it has ended in tragedy. So for me then, the work that I was doing in the mental health space, I was working with a virtual reality project, that coupled with my experience, then coupled with this passion and knowledge that I have of my background's exercise physiology, then became empathy first at the beginning of COVID because I couldn't do the virtual reality anymore. And it was, how do I get these conversations? How do I inform people that there is a different way of communicating? And the more research that I did into human-centered design, social impact, psychology, all these neuroscience, all of these different topics kept coming back to, we are so afraid of empathy. We are so afraid of connection. We are so yet desperately seeking it that we just want the transaction to be easy. And that's where unsolicited advice comes from. It's where this dismissal comes from because we want to go, you've got a problem, I've got a solution, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the trouble with that is the more we see the devastating impact of that, the more we see people withdrawing. And, I mean, even some of the research around teenagers, for example. There was a study in Scandinavia, and they said they were looking at reasons teenagers try to take their own life. And one of the top reasons was not feeling heard. There was another study that was talking about teenagers again, and they found that it was teenagers not having language around emotions to express how they're feeling. So one is heard, valued, visible, and safe. The other is that emotional literacy piece. If they're just using a vocabulary of mad, bad, sad, and glad, how do you explain to somebody that you're feeling frustrated, humiliated, exhausted, invisible? They don't have the language to express how they're feeling, and when they do try, they don't feel heard. So all of this, like all of my story, all of understanding why we make people feel dismissed, understanding how we talk about emotions, understanding how we show up for people, what our role is, that then is what builds connection. It is not a quick fix. It is sitting down, doing the work and making sure that we feel supported and we've got good boundaries and we are emotionally regulated so that we can show up for other people and show that even what's called co-regulation. Co-regulation is if I'm regulated and you're not. So if I'm calm and I'm okay and you're not, you catch that off me. Like we've all seen it where like a toddler's having a meltdown, for example, and we go, oh my God, just calm down. Nobody is regulated in that sense. But if the toddler's having a tantrum or we take some deep breaths or somebody's having a panic attack, they don't want us to yell at them to calm down.
Yeah.
We have to learn to regulate so that we can then co-regulate. And these are all skills that I've had to learn as an adult and that my children bring into very sharp focus. And we have this assumption that teenagers are just small adults and that the reason they don't communicate and the reason they just grunt at us is because they're being rude or whatever it is. And it's really not. Like, this is how I explain it to my children. I tell them caterpillars are cute. So we go toddlers. Caterpillars are cute. Butterflies, they're beautiful. Grown adults, butterflies, beautiful. You are currently the mush inside the chrysalis. Your brain has liquefied and we need to make sure that whatever goes into your brain is of good quality so that when you emerge from the chrysalis, you look like a normal human being. And there is constantly pushback and there is constantly arguments. Like there's constantly all these, not disagreements as such, but there's constantly push and pull because that's what they do. They have to do that. Teenagers have to push against you and they push where they feel safe and they have to, they're not doing it to be difficult. They're doing it because the 11-year-old and the 18-year-old are very, very different creatures. And in order for them to become the 18-year-old, they need to learn how to push. They need to learn how to stand up for themselves. They need to learn who they are. It's called the identity phase. And the more we can kind of step back and be there as that sounding board, be there as that safe space, be there as that guide and not the guru. Like they have to figure it out. They have to make mistakes and they have to do all of that. But quite often they don't have the language for that. So we've got to kind of observe. I mean, that said, my 14-year-old boy said something to me the other day when he got in the car. I went, Rowan, how's your day? Like, because I haven't seen him all day. I was very excited. And Rowan's like, because I'd had a great day.
Yeah, sure.
I was like, Rowan. And Rowan goes, Mum, because I love you. And it's not that I don't want to talk to you right now, but give me a minute and then I will answer all of your questions. I am hungry, I am tired, and I've had to be nice to people today. And I'm like, sorry, Rowan. And I wasn't like, I didn't have my little strop that I wanted to have. But I was like, okay, sorry, Rowan. But to me, driving home in silence feels like,
yeah, terrible.
I don't like it.
No, of course not, yeah.
But he was able to say, Mum, it's not that I don't love you.
Yeah.
But give me a minute.
Yeah. So communication, like healthy communication builds healthy relationships, right? Because if he hadn't said that, you wouldn't have a clue what was going on. You would have just felt terrible. And then
he doesn't want to talk to me. He doesn't love me.
Yeah, correct.
My head just sort of wanders away.
Make up all your stories.
I'm a terrible mother. He doesn't love like.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's.
So I just want to talk about the practicality of what you just said because parents listen to this podcast. So you said the formative age was what, 11 to.
Roughly, 11 to, 18, 25.
Yeah, sure. But around that 10, 11, 12 mark, the idea is make sure your kids know that you've got their back, make 100%. Sure you're observing their behaviour, but let them make their mistakes because that's when they're developing their, I suppose, their character and becoming young adults. The key part is like from a leader in the family part as a parent is to observe and be there, but not necessarily solve all the problems.
Oh, and it's hard. I mean, I know I have all the answers.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong. I have all the best advice. I have all the answers. I've lived all the things. Oh, I have to sit on my hands sometimes and go, that
must be real. Like, wow, that must be a hard thing to do, because these are the most precious things in your life.
Oh, but nobody thrives when somebody just hands them the answer. Nobody wants their problems solved for them. Nobody wants to feel inadequate because somebody else, because if you tell somebody, oh, you know what you should just do, it's like, oh, I'm not smart enough to figure it out for myself. People ask about conflict and all that sort of stuff. And this is the way that I sort of think about my kids as well, is if we are facing each other, and this is the way a lot of people kind of look at leadership and they look at being the expert, and it's like we're facing each other. I am the parent, you are the child, that sort of authoritarian, do as I say. The way that I like to think about things is facing the same direction. And when you're facing the same direction, you go, well, what is our common goal? And I say to my kids, my common goal is to get you through this bit, have a good time, like get you through it in one piece so that trauma is minimal, but try to get you through this. But we're facing the same direction.
Yeah.
And that's why I say to Rowan, I'm on your side. I'm on your team. And so I think of it more as a team than sort of a leader and minions.
Yeah.
The way that can, I guess, manifest itself in a practical way is if you've ever tried to have a conversation with a teenager face to face, it doesn't work. If you've ever sat your kid down and go, right, let's talk, or we need to talk, it doesn't work. They clam up. Like they go deer in the headlights, or they'll shut right down. The best conversations we have with children, small children, is colouring in, side by side. Engage a different part of their brain. The best conversations we have with teenagers is facing the same direction on a walk or in the car. And I say in the car because I can lock the doors. But but you're facing the same direction.
Yeah.
They're talking to the back of your head. They're talking to the side. They don't have that additional stress of eye contact.
Yeah.
And so dismantling this whole active listening is eye contact.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
The best conversations, especially driving is good, walking is better. If you can get a teenager out on a walk, face the same direction, it means their eyes are moving, different parts of the brain are going, you will get them chatting. If you want to learn about your teenager, take them for a walk. And again, it's that facing the same direction, you have the same goals, and you start to talk about those things as though you are on the same team. That's how I kind of look at it. And there's all those different types of parenting, you know, like the passive and the neglectful and the authoritative and authoritarian. And you've got to find a good sort of balance. But that's how I look at this. I am not their boss. I will delegate tasks and I will expect them to be done because they live in the house and you have to empty the dishwasher.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're emptying the dishwasher because you live in the house, because there are things that you want, because there are ways that a household functions and you are part of that.
So the practical takeaways for me there was you see it more like a team than a hierarchical structure, which I think is great. And there were some really practical things about dealing with the way you can, like, not dealing with, but the setting to get the best chat out of your children.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Young kids is colouring in and teenage kids is going for a walk, but facing the same direction.
Face the same direction.
Take the eye contact out of it, which is really cool.
Yeah. Don't try and have a conversation while they're gaming.
Yeah.
Pick your moments.
That makes perfect sense. Are there anything else that you want to share to parents that are listening that might be struggling?
Short and sharp?
Short and sharp.
Short and sharp. So a couple of things. So in the merch store, and I have my bag here today, and it actually says, and get curious. Really care about that person as them, not as your version of them, and get curious about who they are. That's the first one. Second one, under almost all circumstances, try to eliminate the words should and just from your vocabulary. Telling somebody, especially a teenager, what they should just do shuts them down. Absolutely shuts them down, because they are coming into that age of autonomy where they want to have control, they want to feel empowered, and so telling them what they should just do shuts them down. They will rebel against it, even if they want to do it, even if they know it's a good idea. The fact that you have told them to do it, they'll instantly rebel against it. So you should just do this. Should is yuck. And just means that I think it's easy and you're an idiot for not thinking it's as easy as it is. So the information's generally in the word just. Watch out for the question why. Watch out for the question why. Generally, when someone is in trouble, we will say, why did you do that? Mm-hmm. And it's not an open, invitational, positive question. So if you ask somebody, well, why didn't you do your homework? Or why isn't the dishwasher done? Or why, whatever, why are you home late? Puts people on the defensive, and then they instantly go negative. Mm-hmm. If you say, well, what happened? Or what support do you need? Or how did we get to this? Or ask questions that actually open a little bit more of a positive, almost creative sense, you'll get better answers. Mm-hmm. So should and just and why.
Yeah.
And then when you're looking at how to frame answers, the more you can say the word let's. Let's figure it out. Let's have a conversation. Let's go for a walk. Let's have an adventure. Let's talk in 5 minutes. Let's clean up your room. Let's, whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
Again, getting that buy-in, because we're not sort of just telling them. But, let's figure it out. Let's see. Let's look at the options. Let's see what the consequences are. Let's see what you need. As opposed to, you should just go do that. So a few little...
Yeah.
The other thing is learning how to breathe. A lot of people, when we talk about being more empathetic, breathing and sleeping, really, really important. So as a parent, getting enough sleep if you can, because we know that shift work and babies disrupt that, but getting enough sleep, because people who are not well rested are less empathetic. If we've had a bad night's sleep, I'm not sunny happy in the morning.
Sure.
I'm annoying and cranky and irritable. Getting enough, prioritizing sleep gives us more grace for other people. And learning how to breathe so that our shoulders aren't around our ears and we're not constantly panicking and our cortisol levels get a chance to drop and we get to breathe into responding and not reacting. That's a really, and practicing it at night, practicing it in the car, taking a few deep breaths before you answer the phone, before you send off that angry email, practicing that skill of deep breathing helps you then to be present in the moment, which means you can then start to remember, oh, that's right, I'm not allowed to say should and just. Oh, that's right, I have to use the word let's. Oh, that's right, I have to ask curious questions. But you can't do that when your hamster wheel's going and your shoulders around your ears.
Sure. And I can totally see how breathing is a way to bring a sense of calm, I guess, and just slow that moment down and give yourself the space to be the person that you want to be, not the person that you necessarily are right in that moment.
Yeah, because we don't respect people who are just flying off the handle all the time.
Yeah.
People who are just coiled snakes.
Yeah, amazing. If people want to find out more, if someone wanted to connect with you and pick this up, how would they do that?
Easiest way, if you type in Leanne Empathy now, you find me. But empathyfirst.com.au is the easiest way. Yep. Empathy First HQ on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. We've got the Empathy First store now. There's all sorts of ways, but... Yeah.
Is that where people can buy their bags?
Buy your bags, buy your t-shirts. Hey, I've got one that says be a shoulder, not a shoulder. But yeah, good fun stuff in the store. But yeah, empathyfirst.com.au or leanne@empathyfirst.com.au.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time today. It's been wonderful
welcome.
chatting to you. And we always try to pull out like 4 or 5 highlights for the social reels, and that's going to be really hard from this chat because many times you've been talking and I've been thinking, oh, that's so good. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Legacy Collective podcast. Copyright by School Fun Run. Today's episode was brought to you by Funzy. You can find out more at funzy.com.au. And if you'd like to access other podcasts, we produce one called Chase the Fun. It's narrated by Chase the Cheetah, and it's made specifically for kids in primary school to help them develop characters to become the best human beings they can be. See you in the next episode.